a copy? I'm sorry. Does everyone have a copy of?
The administration does it, Mr. President.
Yeah, please. Mr.
I have a copy from the report.
Okay. So again, my question is, what?
Absolutely not a bad idea, but something that needs to be.
Well, with regards to your first portion of your question,
it can't happen just like this. We have budgetary items, Mr. President.
Well, I mean, I think it should be comprehensive before we move to put something in the books. I mean, not just. I would need to look at chapter and article.
For once in this entire year, if we're going to do this, could we do it together so that we can go over it, add or take away or delete just once? Because it's not. I'm not talking about administration. I'm talking about council. Okay? Just once. That we review this, take a look at it, cost out, and I asked this question before, and everybody said yeah, and we didn't go anywhere.
You brought that to the table.
Okay? I brought this to the table before. When we brought it up before, we talked about it. See, I know that this is a good time. It's the first term for Mr. Cochran. He's anxious to get some things done. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, I'm going to ask you tonight to partner with this council to do that because it involves budget issues. I brought it up and you brought it up before. It's not such a bad idea. But we have to responsibly look at this. And now is the time. This is a good time to do it. So, Mr. President, I'd like to ask for a workshop with this council to meet, to deal with this. Because, you know, the inspection issue must be dealt with. Now, if you're telling me that something else is coming before the council, at that time, I'd like to hear that.
Let me tell you now.
And still move, Mr. President.
Let me share with you right now. One of the things that I was waiting for, and as we got around the city manager, I would have brought that to your attention. I was waiting for the schedule of the new meeting dates. And I've already discussed it with the administration with regards to our first meeting in July, which will be a long meeting, but you know we'll just discuss as much business as we possibly can on that date, and that will be July 19th. Ms. Haynes, per our conversation, with regard to the first available meeting in July.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we'll get a comprehensive presentation with regards to what problems, if any, and what corrective measures, if any, will be taken. Certainly with any recommendations to the ordinances, and particularly what you bring up, Mr. Cochran, this may fit right in. The only question is, I'm concerned, again, are there fees incurred? And the reason why I say are there fees incurred is because whatever we pass on to a landlord, slumlord, whomever, all they do is pass it on to the tenant. For the most part, in my opinion, you're going to pass it on to the tenant. And considering that you got, and considering that not every landlord is a bad landlord. I mean, you know, and generally what we do from a reactionary standpoint on a whole bunch of things, this education issue is a very good issue, but we take one issue and we blanket it over everything. You know, the system is bad, or every landlord is bad, or every cop is bad. Or every,
no, I beg to differ. We have some excellent police officers in this city.
Well, if you said last name, some people say something about doing it.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
But,
what you looking at me for?
Can you stop? Can you stop? Mr. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Are you saying that there's something coming before?
A meeting is scheduled for July 19th. The first meeting, I was waiting for us to approve the date of our scheduled meetings. I spoke with Ms. Haynes with regard to that, and we just needed to schedule the meeting, find out what meetings the council agreed to meet on at our next public meeting and our workshop meeting.
But Mr. President.
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
If this is going to be a workshop,
I'd like to wait until after that meeting. I need to know what's going on. See, this is the same request I had before. If we could work this together, if we could do this together, take a look at it, get a presentation from the city. I mean, it's not a bad idea.
Not at all.
It's not a bad idea.
Not at all.
However, because it impacts the entire city, you know.
Right.
I've asked before and I'm going to ask again.
You know what, excuse me, Mr. Stewart had the floor. Yes,
Mr. President, I'd rather, before go through, this is an excellent idea, so maybe we can, for once, eliminate,
It's not a new idea.
well,
It's an excellent
I
idea.
say it is a good idea. All right, is that okay with you?
It doesn't matter.
All right then, so I continue.
Yes, sir.
Someday,
I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So anyways, Mr. President, I believe that we should allocate some time and maybe get something from administration so that we can actually team up with this body and follow effectively. It's an excellent idea. Maybe we can, come back these unbelievable bad landlords. And we hear it all the time from the general public.
And let me reiterate.
But I'm saying that the time factor, Mr. President, because that's going to be on the 19th, I believe, is going to be double-header.
Yeah, but it's not, my understanding is you're going to get a recommendation, an assessment of the division of inspection. Nuts to bolts with regards to inspectors, Ms. Haynes?
Mr. President, what we will essentially present is the plan that is being put in place administratively for the Department of Inspections with respect to housing code issues. And it's a very comprehensive issue. It's not just an issue of how many inspectors we have or how many times they inspect.
I believe you said it was going to be a PowerPoint presentation.
We will include a PowerPoint presentation as well. We've undergone some major steps toward outlaying how this whole effort will be approached, and it's far more comprehensive than just saying hire more inspectors and do more inspections. We are very, very certain that is not the issue that will lead to the level of an answer for this problem. And we'll be happy to present the whole thing to the council.
You'll have documentation for us as well with regards to your presentation?
Legislation, you mean? Or
well, either legislation and or documentation of the presentation.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. And the legislation will involve the issue of fees that Mr. Councilman has raised, but it will be based on the data and the information and based on what the law allows us to do. It won't be an arbitrary figure that we might come up with.
Yes, sir, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. President. Chief, can this body get a copy of your presentation prior to the PowerPoint so we can...
Sure. It's the 19th? Yes, it's 19th. Let me say I'll work to do that. Mr. Okay, I'll work to do that. And I'll let you know definitively if there's a problem with us being able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Ms. Cochran, we're back to that. Obviously, you have the floor with regards to this, but I would respectfully ask if we can wait to that meeting and bring these concerns back.
I tell you what, I appreciate Councilman Taylor. To understand the substance of the discussion, we need to review it, formulate some questions prior to the presentation.
You know what, Ms. Kelsey, can you copy, we'll get the subsections and we'll have that, so if anyone has any questions with regards to the ordinance itself, if we can have that by the next meeting, as a document to review, just with regards to the...
I'm sorry, Mr. President, make sure I understand the...
I was asking for a copy of the ordinance with regards to
the ordinance
inspection.
will be presented?
No.
I know the present ordinance.
Yeah, we have the book.
No, we'll be presenting an
I would,
ordinance based on the information that you give us.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on what Councilman Taylor. In order for us to have a substantive discussion on what the administration is presenting to us, we need to say it ahead of time.
Right.
Before the 19th.
As opposed to
Reacting to that. And I believe Ms. Hinton said that she would do her best to try to work. I don't know what the specific questions are, but I assure you I'll find out if there's any roadblocks to that. Because once it's given to the council, it's going to be completely public information at that point in time. So we want to make sure that we act accordingly.
One that we've been working on.
That's exactly right. That's what you're talking about. But the budget changes, budgetary changes. Let's copy the floor.
Mr. President, I will pull the motion.
spell the question.
I've been a hold everyone in Channel in terms of having stuff for the 19th. I may bring my copies back. And for us to have a really good discussion, we need to stay stuff every time and we can dialogue about it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Okay, where was that? We're at the portion of the meeting generally reserved for the public, that is. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Petit.
I'd like to ask, and I don't mean any disrespect, and I need the council members' attention. I think that, I believe that somewhere along the way we've lost our way. We've lost our way in that I don't think we've been responsible enough, Mr. President, in dealing with our younger council members and assisting them. Younger council members, that would include me, younger, that we could do a better job of working together to understand what council is and what we should be doing. Somewhere along the way, we've lost our way because I think there's an underlying belief that council members should not work together, that they should not work as a team, or will be rubber stamped as an administrative council. And I'm here to suggest today, with all due respect, that this entire council has a responsibility to work together for the good of the people in this city, period. And that means that sometimes we'll agree and sometimes we'll disagree. I'm looking forward to July 1st beginning a new year and a new time for this council, Mr. President, in that we'll spend a little bit of time, a whole lot of time, working together to ensure the success of the initiatives that we bring before this council, the success of this council as a whole as it relates to constituent base in this city, and the success of this council in terms of partnership. We have a responsibility. It is not my council, it's not your council, it's not yours, it's not yours or yours. It is ours. We should work together. We don't have to be separate to accomplish the goal or any goal that is best for the people in this city. And I am going to challenge every council member here today to join me and Mr. Cochran and Mr. Bethea and Mr. Pentella, Councilwoman Payton, Mr. Segura, and Gina Malone in partnership to build this city. The divisiveness must end.
Thank you, Mr. Latif. All right, Rick, any other comments? All right, Rick, the portion of the meeting generally reserved for the public. Anyone wishing to address council may do so by show of hands. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Michelle Stevens. I live in East Hampton, New Jersey. My address is 2 Wyndham Drive, East Hampton, New Jersey, 08760. I'm attending this meeting because I own a few properties in New Jersey. In Trenton, I'm sorry. And I'm interested in acquiring a few abandoned properties that are adjacent to 2 properties that I'm in the process of purchasing. And in my due diligence in acquiring these properties and looking into the abandoned properties that are attached, I have contacted a number of individuals that are heads of different departments to find out how I can go about doing this. I was aware of the auction that was held this weekend, and none of the properties that I've inquired about were on this list. And so what I found is that, as an example, I'm buying a property on Cavell. It's a twin, it's semi-detached, and the property right next door to it, attached to it, is falling apart, literally. The roof is caved in. I scared my contractor by taking a chance and kind of walking through the unit just to see what was going on, to see how it...
Is the city-owned property?
Actually, no, it's not. And it's been sitting there for some time. The city does have a tax lien on it. They are in the first position. And what I have proposed to the individuals that I've talked to is to allow me to assume that first position lien, purchase that from the city, and then I can foreclose on the property and take it over and fix it up and make it tax rateable.
So you want to purchase the lien on the property?
Yes, I do. And there's actually two of them that are in that position.
On Cabell Avenue?
No, the other one's on Salone.
Not city-owned property again, Ms. Long?
No. And my other concern is the number of properties that are out there that are vacant, that are falling apart, that have liens on them, and the liens have been there for some time, but no one has taken any steps towards either taking them over in the city, or there are liens on them that are held by people who have participated in tax sales, and the liens have been on certain properties since the 1980s and nothing's been done. They just sit there. So my specific interest is in the properties that are attached to the properties that I'm interested in, because I don't want to end up with an abandoned property next door to me that is just going to continue to fall apart, and I'm willing to take the responsibility to fix those properties up. But the whole process in place has been kind of confusing, and no one that I've spoken with has been able to help me make my way through this whole process to, tell me, how do I get a property that's not owned by the city has a tax lien, what do I do?
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
let me ask this question. Mr. Rockwood, to your knowledge, what responsibility do we have as a first lien holder on a abandoned property that's not owned by the city with regards to disposition of the property?
Well, for such time as we foreclose and own the property, there's nothing owned. The individual who goes to whoever the owner is and has to negotiate to buy the property will continue to be subject to the liens. I know we're in the process of foreclosing many properties, but it's a very expensive proposition, and I think, it needs to be spread out. Mr. Gonzalez could probably
Actually, what is the procedure for tax lien sales? Selling disposition of the tax lien for a tax
Well,
lien?
the tax lien sales already occurred. The lien is out there. I guess nobody bought the lien in the city.
You can buy the subsequents, actually, because each year taxes get added, and you can buy the subsequent taxes and have a position.
So you can go to any abandoned property that has a lien on it in the city of Trenton, make a request of the city of Trenton with regards to purchasing a tax lien on that property?
Each year, there's additional taxes that accrue on a property.
Correct.
So there is a tax sale that occurs every year. Those additional taxes can be bought. They're called subsequents. But you would have to hold the property for 2 years before you could foreclose. I think the suggestion that you attempt to purchase it from the property owner and pay off the taxes is probably the shortest route to you acquiring those properties.
Well, in 2 instances, I found in my research that the property owners are dead. And there's nobody to do it.
Yeah, I would get, it has to accrue to their estate or their family. Somebody owns it.
That's right.
Let me just share with you. I think it's public knowledge now.
Mr. President.
But I just want to make sure this body doesn't want to. We've had to approve it. One, Mr. Stevens, we've had to approve in tax lien sales. But one thing we don't want to do, I know Mr. DeFay is smiling because I think he may know where I'm going. We don't want to approve the sale of a tax lien that some other people may have control over. Necessarily, those things have been brought to our attention before with regard to expensive legal matters to get out of it. Am I telling you stories outside? Do you recall what I'm talking about? I don't want to get into specifics, but everyone remembers the one that came before us with regards to tax lien, and we was told that it was reviewed, and subsequently, bam, somebody who was dead popped up livid and said, hey, what do you want my property?
That's right.
I think the best information you were given with regards to trying to track down the owner or the state of the owner or trying to do an extensive background search.
You should probably get a lawyer.
Try to. Ms. Dixon is excellent. She's very exceptional. Let's see the work rate, okay? Steve, thank you very much for your time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Jeffrey. Please state your name and address for the record.
Zachary Chester, 1405 Stuyvesant Avenue.
Yes, sir.
In doing some research myself, and you touched on the what I call undesirable landlords, slum landlords, but undesirable. Wanted to know if in the administration's plan that they're going to present to council next month, is there a functioning rent stabilization board?
Yes.
And will that be included in the plan? Because just in what's on the website, that board, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe Mr. Lockwood can enlighten me, that it seems like that board would be handling some of the complaints, and then forwarding recommendations to this body and to the administration based on what I read, and just want to make sure I'm interpreting what that stabilization board, and Mr. President, you made a comment about if you add any costs to the landlord, it would then be passed on to the tenant. But if this board is doing what it's supposed to do, they regulate or deal with the taxes, rent increases, water and sewer and stuff like that. So it seems like that board would prevent that additional cost going to the tenant. So would that be included in the process of the PowerPoint that's going to be presented? And, how does this board fit in with the council and administration? It seems like that's what the board is supposed to do.
So is it, to my knowledge, we have a functioning rent stabilization board with regards, and I can name at least one or two, and I know Mr. Malone knows one of them I'm talking about, with the social ministry, where a landlord in the city of Trenton attempted to raise rents and had to come before the rent stabilization board to justify its increases. With regards to large property owners, such as corporations and or individuals or self-incorporated folks, quite frankly, it's the tenants have rights, and they can protest and or complain about any charge within their rent. And I believe, did you say something about it? One of you guys wanted.
Well, my office.
Yeah. Another office has a rent stabilization person. And they've argued just that case with regards to why should we allow you to increase? And they've met on plenty of issues. They generally come from some of the larger landlords. Typically, those buildings are supposed to be stabilized, income stabilized, that go up periodically on their rents.
So that's only for the actual apartment complexes in the city?
That's where I've seen it at, but I don't necessarily.
Individuals can also file a complaint.
Yeah, I would think so.
It doesn't just have to be
And
an
a lot of it,
organization or...
yeah, a lot of it has to do with market studies and what's appropriate in terms of, and they do all this, they have this research. Yeah, there's certain criteria they ask. You're not going to, remind me of Wanda Avenue, you're not going to have nobody paying, hopefully, $2,000 rent and get a rent increase on Walnut Avenue, and then they come before the board trying to say, hey, I can't afford this, and why the landlord keeps going up on my rent. They will look at that and say, hey, are other apartments in that area being charged that type of rent? What are the discrepancies? And they look at that. And that might be very well, too, a part. I mean, citizens have the right to
just seems like if that's...
Because this is a rent-stabilized city.
Right, and if the administration is working on a plan that's going to handle what Mr. Clark is talking about and what Mr. Casa is talking about, it seems like this board should be included in that plan. And then I guess just raise another question is, do the average Trentonian know that there is a board that they can take their complaints to? Because it's a possibility that someone could be overcharged and their house not being taken care of, leaks and so.
I'll give you some additional information with regards, it's just, and I'll give that to the entire council with regards, with regards to information of the city's.
You get that information. He gets that information in 6 months.
Ms. Davis, ma'am?
Just to bring up a good point as to whether there is a public awareness of that avenue when tenants have discrepancies or disputes with their landlord. I don't know that folks don't know. Folks need to know it. You know what I mean? Because I can remember walking neighborhoods and we encountered a woman who had some problems. Remember, I think she didn't have board or something like incredible and said, Ms. Jotty came out with this thing for, but I mean, this had gone on like 50 days, and she really didn't know what to do other than arguing back and forth with her landlord about it. So I'm sure that there could be some increased awareness about what tenants can do when they run up against those situations with their landlords. I don't know how you get it out. I don't know if it's enough to put it on the pamphlet.
Quite frankly, I believe if you look at landlord-tenant laws, it's the landlord's responsibility to notify the tenant of the information with regards to manhole and all the information.
It's for them to give them a package.
Yeah, and to perhaps have a conscientious renter seek that information themselves.
Okay, but in the real world,
That's what you should have. A list of members and who appointed them.
I'm sure a lot of tenants probably don't really have that walking paper.
Nip that right in the bud. He didn't answer the
There has to
question.
be another way, to do it. I don't know if it's a pamphlet or not, but I think, I mean, you can certainly put on the website. I don't know how many folks who really have a chance to access it, but maybe an occasional PSA about that with tenants, because it's a prevalent problem industry. And so it might be an idea to put a PSA about that from time to time.
Mr. President, can I add some clarity?
Can I come back? Let me come back. I'll come around to you. Mr. Pucciati, if I could just ask one question, and I know Ms. Carter made a good point, Mr. Chester made a good point as well as Ms. Staten, with regards to landlord-tenant rights. Is that notification a part of the registry information with regards, has or will you as a landlord notify you, or have you notified your tenants of their rights?
That is not part of our registration.
Could the application be modified maybe, or some type of handout?
Sure.
And as we deal with issues that come up, or specific cases, have you as a tenant been notified of your rights, the responsibility of your landlord? And perhaps if that comes up, will you be a reason for a fine or some type of physical action?
Most certainly.
Just as a recommendation, that's something that we should be talking about too when we come up with that other stuff as well.
Okay.
Hello?
Ms. Lofton, yes, sir.
Just a clarification, in the definitions, when I took a quick look at the rent control statute, or ordinance, excuse me, it covers buildings or structures rented to one or more individuals or households. Exempt from this chapter are owner-occupied, 1 to 2 family dwellings, public or other federally subsidized housing, and motel, hotel, or any premises primarily serving transient groups. So it's not all encompassing.
That's why you get the information. Ms. Brooke, I generally don't do this, sir. I generally don't do this. And I don't want to open up Pandora's box here.
No.
Very quickly, please.
Yes.
State your name.
Donald Brocade, 104 Cornwall Avenue in Trenton. I just wanted to add some clarity to this issue because I am a landlord who follows the law implicitly with regard to landlord-tenant rights and with rent control. And in my capacity as tenant advocate for many of my tenants who have dealt with unscrupulous landlords, the law, with regard to rent control, there is a rent control board. I don't know how often it has met. It was headed by Blanca Valentin, who is no longer part of the administration, and I do know some people who are on that board. When it did meet, it did not meet regularly. Now, tenants, a landlord legally can only raise a tenant's rent 3% in a given year, annually, okay? The purpose of rent control boards is if a landlord has done a great deal of work to a particular building and they want to increase the tenant's annual rent, and rent can only be increased on an annual basis. And it doesn't matter if the building is sold. If a new landlord buys the building in the middle of a tenant's period of time, they cannot turn around and raise that rent. They have to wait for the anniversary period. Okay? But the purpose of the rent control board is if, say, I put all new windows and new roof and siding on the building and I wanted to pass some of that expense on to my tenants, I would have to apply to the rent control board for an increase in excess of that 3% that is allowed by law. And then I would have to prove what I had done, how the expense had affected me, and the board would decide if that rent on the anniversary date could be increased more than that. That is the purpose, to my understanding, of what the rent control board is. Also, with regard to tenant-landlord law, it is very clear, and there is a sheet that outlines all of the landlord-tenant laws down at the courthouse.
Or you can download it on DCA.
Yes, exactly. And I have actually, when I've had tenants applying for apartments with me, and they've told me what some of their new landlords have done, like saying that they're going to be living in their apartment and they're trying to vacate them to get them out so they could jack up the rent if they're paying a low rent, or not giving them, even if that happens, they have to give them 90 days notice, giving them 30 days notice. All of these types of things that raise my hackles with regard to landlords attempting to hoodwink tenants because they think that they're ignorant, and they take advantage of that. And I have to tell you, many times I will tell tenants to go to the city, go to rent control board, and they don't do it. I don't understand that. They have the rights, they can get their rent rebated back to them with penalties, and they still don't do it. But the law is very clear, the information is available, but the problem, I think, is that your average renter in the city of Trenton does not know what their rights are. And when they find out about their rights, I'm baffled. Many of them don't stand up for themselves. And that's why unscrupulous landlords tend to prey on these types of people. That's why they descended on Trenton like a horde of vultures, because they felt that they could make a quick buck.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for that. And, right now, the mayor. Do you have something from the office?
I wanted to say that I'm a member of the Rent Control Rent Stabilization Board. We only meet when we have cases.
Cases are brought before you.
Yes.
Right.
So, and that's why we don't meet as regularly.
And that's yes, sir, Ms. Blake. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Blake. Please state your name and address for the record.
Ms. Blake, 15 Bell Street.
Yes, ma'am.
I gave a letter to the clerk retiring from the zoning board. You have it. I want to just thank whoever's responsible, and I guess it's Director Lewis Poole, for having the Y come in to the centers and give us exercise once a week. We all love it. We're just, and they're happy with us, and I just want to thank them for this opportunity for the seniors, a lot of seniors, to exercise where they don't have the opportunity to do it otherwise. And I want to especially thank Miss Edward Dixon for getting those weeds cut down in front of the Reading Center. The smell was, I don't know what was in there dead, but the smell was awful. And I called you one day, and they were after the next, and it's taken care of, and I just want to thank you. Thank both of you.
Thank you, Ms. Blakely. Ms. Dixon, thank you as well for your statement. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Blake. Please state your name and address for the record.
Patricia Stewart, 679 Lamberton Street. A couple of things. First of all, I am delighted that the city has withdrawn its application for that needle exchange program, and I hope they do not get involved in it. There are other ways to solve that problem besides giving people needles. The other thing is with property, this lady mentioned two pieces of property. The owners were dead, and there don't seem to be any heirs or any wills. I believe there's, Mr. Lockwell probably knows this, there's old Anglo-Saxon common law where after a while property is seized by the government when there are no heirs and no wills, but it's cheated or something? You know what I'm talking about?
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
I realize that, but if someone dies, there's no will, they can't find any heirs. After a while, the property reverts to the government somewhere along the line.
That's probably true in all the years of practicing. I've never run across that situation. There was actually no will.
So who goes and tries to find the fifth cousin once?
Well, I mean, it's going to, if no one is around, the taxes are going to keep increasing, the rules will increase, and at some point there'll be a foreclosure by whoever bought the lien or by the city.
Because I don't know, it seems unnecessarily complicated. I must be missing something there. And I do have a question, though, about landlord-tenant. If a landlord decides not to renew a lease, and they notify the tenant with, say, 90 days notice, is the landlord allowed to do that, not renew a lease?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, depends on the circumstances.
What would the circumstances be, Mr. Walker?
If they're going to move into the property, there's different situations. I can't address them specifically without checking the statutes, but if the landlord is moving into the property as opposed to renting it to someone else, there's different situations.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
President.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of council. My name is Dion Clark, the East Ward, Wilbur section. A few months ago, I brought you a recommendation here from the Rental Property Advisory Committee from Freehold. You guys as a whole thought that was a very good idea. Mr. President, when I come to you guys, I talk about Walnut Avenue, which is the worst street in the city of Trenton, bar none. I keep my beef to my community and my neighborhood. And when I tell you we got some slum landlords, it's some slum landlords. And it's nothing that Director Pucciati can do about it. Last week when my mayor was here, I went in his office and me and him had a very candid conversation about it. He told me, Dion, you keep on doing what you're doing because I'm the one who lives over there in that filth and has to put up with that abuse. And if they ain't slum landlords, what do you call them? When they tell me to tell Pucciati, I'll pay the fine. Now what you gonna do with me? But in the meanwhile, their tenants keep us up all night fighting and selling drugs and carrying on. I know Donald's one of the good ones. I'm talking about the slum landlords of Walnut Avenue in the Wilbur section. You've always heard me say Walnut Avenue, not Stuyvesant, not Princeton Avenue, no other street in the city but Trenton, but Walnut Avenue. Now you got your director of inspections here, you got your director of public works here. Joe Santiago, when he came here, what did he talk about? Walnut Avenue, Walnut Avenue. If you was to ask Director Jackson about the illegal dumping and the problems in alleyways throughout the city of Trenton, he would probably mention Walnut Avenue. And I know Director Pucciati, he's been on the job 40 years and he's seen it all. But if you ask him about it, him too will say Walnut Avenue. It's a serious problem, man. And won't you guys stop playing? Because like I told you before, there's some slum landlords in this room, and I'll bet my life on it. That's why I got in trouble a month ago with this statement telling the neighbors I said they had a gang house. Without a doubt, somebody went back and told those people that. There's somebody right in this room who's a slum landlord, a partner in one of those LLCs, and don't want to do nothing about it. And it's going to be hard for the chief of staff and this administration to do anything about it because the problem has gone for so long. The majority of the properties in Trenton is rental properties. And let's just concentrate with Walnut Avenue. You go up and down Walnut Avenue. Walnut Avenue is a disgrace. And Mr. President, I'm surprised you're not with me all the way on this because you told me you're from Wilbur section. I'll take you with that apartment building you grew up in, and I wouldn't even let my dog stay there. I want to get the press and television people and take them back because y'all have already told me you're not going back to Walnut Avenue with me, and I'm tired of bothering Gino with it. So I'm going to take the press I'm going to take Mr. Harris in television and show them my concerns. It's too late. You let things go too long. I know the chief of staff going to come up with a thing, but it's too far gone. You got to change the whole system, and you're not going to change it. You didn't let it go too far. That's like I wish my dad would say tonight, because what he really wants, him and Mom want, is for y'all to buy him out, and we'll be gone. We're tired of it, because it ain't going to get no better. I'm telling you, man to man, it ain't getting no better, and I takes it personal because I believed in this city. I believed in this administration. I believed in you, Paul. Walnut Avenue is a disgrace. Saturday night, the way they fight and carry on, those same rental properties, those same properties I told y'all about that somebody went and said I said it was gang houses. They might as well be the way they over there carrying on. There's something going on. And you guys are not going to do nothing about the problem. It's a done deal. I'm sorry that I've been harping on it and harping on it, but it's frustrating when I leave here tonight. You ain't going to nowhere near a Walnut Avenue. The chief of staff ain't going nowhere near Walnut Avenue. Nobody in this room going nowhere near Walnut Avenue but me. And I've been the one true and do the right things and been the faithful one and take the less home. And you know the way I believe in you. I'm going to keep harping on that point about how I supported Mayor Palmer, how I supported Paul Pentella, Dee Dee Staten, Manny Segura, Gino Malone, my main man. But when the day is over with and we turn and walk out that door, y'all go one way and I go back to that slaughterhouse. And you know it in your heart. You know it's a slaughterhouse. But you won't say it in here. You'll say it off the record. It's a disgrace. It ain't going to get nothing to get better. Like last week, that presentation about the train station and all that. That train station might prosper, but we as a community won't prosper. How are we as a community going to prosper? Somebody told me trickle down economics. Ronald Reagan said that. That was just talk. It didn't mean nothing. I'm very disappointed in this council. I'm disappointed in the people that I endorse, the people that I believed in. You let me down. You failed me. For 2010, you won't get that chance again. I'm going to give it all I got. I'm going to make some changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark.
Yeah, hi.
Paul
Harris, 137 Center Street.
Yes, sir.
Resolution number 02697. Resolution appointing Paul M. Patella and Manuel Segura as members to the Board of School Estimate. Resolved by the City Council of the City of Trenton that Councilman Paul M. Patella and Manny Segura be and they are hereby appointed to the Board of School Estimate in conformity with the provisions of R.S. 186-48 for a 4-year term to expire July 1st, 2006. It's June 19th, 2007. So this is expired. So what I want to know is when is council going to vote to pass another resolution to put you guys back on that board first and foremost, and to put council members back on the other board that they belong on to? That's the first question I have. And if you guys have been on this board since July 2006, I want to know any of the actions that you have taken, the budgets that have been passed, whatever you've done. I mean, can they be challenged? Since you have not had the authority by this council to be on these things since July 2006, I want to know are the actions that you took on the Board of School Estimate, are they legitimate? Did you sign a budget document? And if you did sign a budget document that did in fact go to the state, I'm sure the Commissioner of Education, what does that mean if you did not have the express authorization of this council to be on that committee, on that Board of School Estimate? I would like to have that question answered. Maybe Mr. Elakawa can elaborate on that with regards to City Council appointment power and the expiration.
Without seeing the documents and reviewing the statutes, it's impossible to do.
I'm sorry?
I said without seeing the documents and reviewing the statutes, it's not possible to answer your question.
Okay.
Any term, or you serve in the term until the appointment and qualification of your successor. I haven't committed all of the statutes to memory to be able to answer that without reviewing, without looking at the resolutions, without looking at the other resolutions that have been done.
Well, there is, they were reelected to office. I mean, you're here, And so why has City Council waited almost a year to reappoint these gentlemen to the board, or any other councilmen or women to these other boards that we should be on, that supervising or doing whatever you do? It doesn't make sense to me. And then, can we challenge the budget or whatever they did, the work that they have done? This resolution gives you...
I can't answer the question.
I know you can. Okay, fine. I mean, but that's fine. But I mean, this was Paul did bring it up last week. He did mention something to it. So, have they been sitting on these boards? Have you been? Did you vote on the budget for the school year? I mean, did you do that? I mean, what does that mean? That's my question, really.
As I said, I can't answer.
Okay, wow. I said Paul.
as to why anyone has done it.
Mm-hmm.
And without reviewing the statute, it's impossible to answer any of the questions.
Okay, I hear what you said. Thank you.
Mr. Warren, did you want to respond?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I know we get tied up at the beginning of a term of many things that we have to do to reorganize and welcome new members and try to educate them as best we can. The SRT feels we've possibly failed on somewhat that. I know when Councilman Segura and Councilwoman Staten and Councilman Buffet came on, we tried to do that transition as easy as possible too, and try to give the respect to the new members to ask the additional information that they may have not had, and that takes time and it consumes us. But if you recall, I believe it was the second meeting, I did bring up that we needed to look at all the boards and commissions for the council for the upcoming term. I believe about 6 months ago I mentioned it again, and last meeting I also mentioned that we need to revisit all boards and commissions, because even speaking for myself, I know when I attended a planning board meeting, they stated to me I could not serve on that board because my term had expired as of July 1st. I did get a call. The secretary wasn't aware that I was no longer on the board, so when I showed up, they said, Mr. Malone, you're no longer on the board. And the attorney, actually, Mr. Lockwood, did state that had I not been a council member, if I was a regular person appointed to the board, it's a different story, but I served on that board as a council person. When my term ended at 11:59 on July 1st, so did my term on that board. Even though I was reelected, technically at 11:59 I was no longer a council member. So my term had ended, and they did not allow me to serve on the planning board. And as I stated to Ms. Staten, and I know she's always right to the T to abstain when a city side issue comes up, because she had served on that board. City Home, I'm sorry. She technically didn't have to do that for this last year because her term also expired. So we really need to have that discussion, because all these boards, as Mr. Chester has stated before when he was sitting across the room, are going currently without council representation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a shame, because council has no voice on any of the commissions and boards currently, and it's been for the past year. And we are elected to be a voice of the people, and on those boards and commissions right now we're failing that. So I thought we discussed the boards and commissions. I know I'd asked the clerk to supply us with a list, and you had also turned to the acting clerk at that time and said that you had the information, and possibly under council session we'll discuss some of these boards and commissions and see what members wish to serve on what boards and commissions.
Thank you, Lord. No other comment? Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Bill. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Donald Brocate, 104 Cornwall Avenue, Trenton. I have two issues that I'd like to bring before council this evening. This afternoon I had a conversation with one of my neighbors on Delaware View Avenue, Mr. Council. He informed me that last night there was gunfire on Delaware View Avenue. Now, I've just redeveloped the property on Delaware View Avenue. I have found a tenant who was interested in buying the property, who is coming into the city from outside of the city. This is a couple who would be an asset to Delaware View Avenue and to the West Ward on the City of Trenton. My concern is, again, with all of the work that I am trying to do to bring quality citizens back into the City of Trenton, the violence on the streets, being perpetrated by young men involved in gang activity may drive these people away. I have noticed an increased gang presence, even though the signs and symbols are more subtle now. It's very obvious to me who these people are on Delaware View Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
With the shootings on Murray Street and Newell Avenue that have happened within the past 6 months, I am very, very concerned about those streets that are perpendicular to West State and Riverside Avenues. We're talking about Delaware View, Colonial, General Green, and South Hermitage Avenue. There are pockets of very fine residents on these streets, and I am finding that they are being chased out by this type of activity. We're bleeding, and we're losing the lifeblood of this city. And it makes me very frustrated. I've been doing this for 22 years now. I've been trying to bring people back into the city, and I feel like I'm beginning to lose the battle. Now, I know that my councilwoman has told me that there will be an increased police presence on South Hermitage Avenue between West State and Riverside. I am asking that my councilwoman do some intervention to make sure that we're getting more police presence on all of those side streets, because they move from one place to the other. And I can make these houses into Taj Mahals, but if people come and the quality of life is such that they can't stand it, they're going to stay vacant. And it's scary. I mean, I now go into these neighborhoods that I never had fear of going into. I would go any place in the city of Trenton, in any ward, on any street, even Walnut Avenue before. I go to some of my properties now with an exit strategy, always looking over my back. I never did that before. And I'm a pretty tough cookie. I'm afraid of very little. But I am very concerned about what is going on with regard to young men and guns in this city, and young women as well. So these are my concerns. I really want them to be addressed, because they are not only my concerns, but they are quality of life concerns for everyone who lives in the city and calls it home. I have one other thing I'd like to say, very briefly. I would like to introduce to council a friend and a lifelong resident of the city of Trenton, Mrs. Judith Koch. Mrs. Koch is one of the volunteers that I recruited for the library board. Her husband, Ricardo Koch, is sitting out in the vestibule. On my urging, they have come to council meetings. This is the face of Trenton. And these are the people who want to become involved in this community and to keep it vital. She has a passion about literacy. I'll let her speak for herself, but this is someone who I feel would do the library board justice, and someone that I would recommend highly. She is one of the 3 people that I recommended as a volunteer to the library board.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. T, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to thank you. We need to continue to do exactly what you're doing. I want to thank Ms. Clark, too, although you're not a resident of the West Ward. But let me say this, and yet you can continue to invest in this city, because you know there's hope. And you know there's hope. And you know that we're doing everything we can in the West Ward to ensure that your hope, as well as the hope of other residents, continues to build. I will intervene and do exactly what you've asked that I do. I'd also like to take this opportunity to tell you that it's great that you've brought before us Mr. and Mrs. Koch, and you've recommended them for the library board. But they live in the West Ward?
Yes.
I have loads of work for these people. The library board, and perhaps they won't. But they will certainly have the opportunity to be active and civically involved in this process. He's an artist?
Yeah, we both are.
We have work. We have work for you.
I would like to say something also.
Please do.
I'm Judith Williams Koch. I'm one of Donald's
State your
tenants.
name and address.
1210 West State Street,
Yes, ma'am.
West Ward. I'm one of Donald's tenants, and honestly, I've lived in the city my entire life, and he is by far the best landlord. His properties are immaculate. It's beautiful, but like he said, the issues with the gunfire. I heard gunfire Friday night in my backyard. It's major. And you see the gang members walking past, and the house is so beautiful. It's like post-Victorian. It's a really beautiful house. I work. My husband works. You know, we're both professionals. We contribute to the city of Trenton, and we want to stay here. This is my home. This is where I grew up.
And to see how the city has descended into all this violence is really frightening to me. And I'm not ready to leave yet, but I surely would like to see more being done. As far as, yes, we do have a gang issue, but I think a lot of it is connected with issues of education, literacy. Our youth don't have activities. They don't have anywhere to go. I don't see it, because I have a young son, but we don't, but see, you know, the important thing is, I heard somebody else say earlier when you were talking about the rent laws and things of that nature, and people not knowing. It's one thing to have these things available, but it's another thing for the community not to know that they exist. So therefore, they're invalid. So I find that a lot of people don't know that they exist. So you have a lot of young people walking around with nothing to do, hence you get gangs because they connect with each other and this is what's cool. You know, they learn this through rap music and media and things like that, and we don't have anything to counter that. And it's not that big of a city. We should be able to counter these issues. I feel like we should.
Thank you. I'm so looking forward to working with you. I mean, I'm standing here because it's entirely too hot. I want to hear you. If Dion won't let me have the fan, I'm standing by the door. But I hear you. There are things to counter that. And the first part of it is parental involvement. The second piece is there's loads of activities in the city. And Donald will tell you that we've been speaking to doing a better job of promoting what we have. We have a tremendous array of activities, but I'm really looking forward to working with you. Okay. I feel your energy.
It ain't that hot in here.
Good things together, and I'm telling you, I got some work for you.
Okay, because I was telling him I've been trying to volunteer, and nobody, I'm like, look, I'm offering my time.
Tomorrow night, we're on the corner of Parkside and Parkway.
Oh, okay.
Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
We meet every month. Every month. It's the Westward Advisory Board.
Okay.
6:30, parking lot, up the back steps. We have
Okay.
security there for the church.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, I'll be there. 6:30 tomorrow. See you then.
Also, let me introduce you to Director Senator Frisbee of the Department of Recreation, Natural Resources, and Culture. I can tell you this man is probably doing all his head trying to answer that one question. There's nothing to do in the city of Trenton.
I can't help it. I'm a citizen, and that's what I see.
But if you don't know that, we need to make sure that you know that.
She knows she don't know.
And I saw him put his head down, but I saw him raise his
I
head
didn't
back up.
either, you know.
No, he's a public servant, trust me. He knows. And I assure you, if you talk to him and share some information with him, he can make sure you're on a mailing list or whatever. There's all types of projects. I know your husband personally is dealing with my child in school and everything.
Okay.
And I know the amazing qualities he possesses as he works with kids. Kids actually love that.
They do, yeah.
Like kids love him. I actually have a chair of his. I paid too much money for it. So I have a chair of his. I didn't paint it in my house. But we have art programs in our centers and whatever. Ms. Ortiz, I think you got work for you. Okay. So
Welcome to the
let's get you involved.
All my life, I grew up
Thank
in
you. Thank you. Anyone else want to meeting left? Seeing all hands, motion to go to public comment.
second.
Before we go to city matters, I want to pass out a memorandum with regards to boards and commissions.
Notice how he didn't answer my concern. He sat silent like he does.
You didn't say something.
I'm not terribly worried about that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some boards and commissions authorized by the authority of the city of Trenton. I was there with the possibility for those boards and have not filled at the time. However, there's a couple ways we can do this. I've had a couple of suggestions that folks voluntarily who have a specific interest in serving on the board. However, you have members in terms of seniority who may wish to express
Look at this. All right.
the board. Some of these positions are appointments of the council, others are advice and consent of the mayor. However, some are voting, others are liaison in terms of their service to that board. It's just a matter of just giving information and sharing information. It's the council to the board, to the commission, and from the commission and or board to the council. I think probably the best thing to do in type of fairness to the fact. Is that no, not these are council council appointments.
These are council.
These are appointments that members of council have statutory responsibility to serve. Or that council appoints. Or that council appoints. Okay. Is there consensus to review this and bring this back up at our next meeting on Tuesday, or is there consensus to act upon this evening? I didn't hear an answer.
I think the review would be good, you know, and council members can let me know, as we've done in the past, what they may have.
I'm trying to get you two options to answer that. First option is one we can act on tonight. If not, we can hold it. We can review it on the following Tuesday. We can review it at the next meeting. I will also ask that you consider the options of one or two of the options, one being voluntarily, the other being based on seniority. The system is set up on the basis of seniority. If you've been here, been on family member here, you have the option and the choice to select the committee. I am open to either option. Or do you wish to discuss that at the next meeting? Okay. So the information has been passed out.
Thank you.
And if there's any additional information that needs to be added to that, I will do so. I would have responded to your question, please. You know, I didn't.
All you had to say was prepared as promised last week.
I did say that. I said last week that I would bring it, and I brought it. But, you know, I didn't give you an opportunity to
That's why I said that.
Thank you, brother.
Two other pieces of information. I'm going to ask the city clerk to work with the director of personnel for our last notice to advertise for an assistant to city council. We can get this young lady some needed help over here. You're welcome. And I am also going to ask that the city clerk also work with the director of personnel to prepare an advertisement for the municipal clerk position to be forwarded to the council president, at which time the council as a whole will review selections with regard to the municipal clerk position. Any questions or comments to this?
So we're making some progress.
It was 90 days from May 17th, so I think it's August 17th, something to that extent. If we don't hit it right on the nail, I'm sure we can get it. Let's get the resumes in, and then we can fit. What we actually will be voting on is not a municipal clerk, for the most part, because we can't find a clerk. My understanding is properly put in.
Unless someone applies that already has the certification.
And if you decide to choose that. Okay, Madam Clerk, with regards to the two directors, I think I left this one here. Senior City Matters, Ms. Hayden, you have to go to you want to stop Ms. Lakeisha, sir?
I have nothing, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Lakeisha. Ms. Hayden, yes, ma'am?
President, in the copy, was this you, Jeff?
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to speak to this. I was very concerned when I read about that blaze on Academy Street. And when the investigation was done by the fire department, it was found that it was an illegal rooming house. What I want to know is, I see where they listed who the property owner is, and I want to know what happened to him.
He will be.
With charges, was he arrested?
Well, he wasn't arrested. He was given a summons to appear in municipal court for operating an illegal rooming and boarding house, and he will appear in front of a judge and have to answer those charges that we've made for that infraction.
Do you know when that is?
I can get the date for you. I most certainly will give you the date.
Yeah, I would like that.
Most certainly.
Thank you, Ms. Hayden. Mr. Segura, yes, sir?
I don't have much. It's just going to, like Mr. Clark says, I'm going to continue talking about. I hear you, Donald. I heard that young lady back there. You know, and this is so consistent throughout the city. You know, it's especially for those of us, that knows the city very well and where these bad elements, are happening every day. I had this young lady, coming up to me. She lives right in front of right in front of me. She says, Councilman, the other night I was held up by an individual at gunpoint, and everything was stolen from her, everything. She was out of the car, actually, right in front of her house. She's coming from work. And so, and it's so disheartening, because now, I talked to her husband yesterday, and they put a sign for sale in the house. Now that's a totally quality couple, The man has a company, bringing money, resource to the city. Now, that's somebody that we're losing twice, because not only that, who knows who's going to move in there then? And this person's been there for 10 years. And they're moving on, they're out of here, and sort of the business. And every single day we have, I tell you, and I know, that the police, they say that yes, they're doing a great job, and blah, 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 blah. You go Mammoth Street, the first 2 blocks of Mammoth, you could go there at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, the same activity. It's like those people don't sleep. Yeah, and then, a couple of houses down the line that are quality life, they're going to move out. They got signs for sale. So, what are we going to do about this? Day by day, people just, complaining, and we talk about it all the time. Where is the solution? I like to know, at least, to alleviate it. We're not going to eliminate it, but let's at least alleviate it.
Yes.
Where people can at least, I do too. I do too. I don't fear much of anything. But I tell you what, though, it's like 9 o'clock, I get home, I don't have no light, but I put my cell phone, trying to open my keyhole, as soon as possible. Because I don't know. And that's that's all over the city, though. Tano, I'm with you on that, and the young lady like that. Because we got to do something about this. All we hear is, hey, I said it and said it again, I'm going to say it again. The police officer parked his car over there. He's there 4 hours in that police car. Man, get out of the damn car and walk a little bit. Maybe you lose some weight. You know what I mean? Or something, just that people can see you. No, but they won't. And and the people suffer. If that police officer, can walk, just like 100 feet radius in that neighborhood, that's good enough that somebody saw police officer. But you don't see them anywhere. I'm sure that if somebody goes once in a while in the first 2 blocks of Mammoth, and that police officer just walk like once in a while, they're not going to be there, 24/7. But they are. And so we just talk about it. But the city every day is going down and down and down. And sometimes people like me, I feel helpless. I am here to represent the people out. If I'm not doing nothing about it, if I cannot do nothing about it. All we do is talk about it. But where's the real action to be done? So that I can go back to the people that call me and say, you know what, man, we're doing something about it, so please don't move out of the city until. But they see nothing is being done with it, so they get it out of here. And it's very frustrating for all of us. Because I know that when I talk, goes one ear, out the other.
That's all right.
But I was elected by these people to talk about it at least, and to try to do something. And to, I'm going to answer this gentleman back there. Sometimes it is true that we have a lot of things to do, and if somebody has not, elected the boards, whatever, or the people that needs to serve, In behalf of the people, I apologize myself. But I can tell you one thing, though, that if I sign a document, I sign it very responsibly. And I do in behalf of the people. And I do it in behalf of the people that I serve and the kids that have been educated. When the budget came through here, I was one that said, maybe we should hold it. But then I say no, because you know what, though? The people that do all of that mess, in the school, are the ones that need to pay, not the kids. So if I hold this budget right here, hostage, they're not going to do nothing. Like I said before, each one of them get 6 figures, but the few suffer, and that was my concern. So if I did unresponsibly, I apologize on behalf of the people, but I know that in my heart, I do the right thing, and that's why I'm serving in this committee to make sure that at the end of the day, justice is going to be served.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Mr. Malone, yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to ask Mr. Pucciatti a question. I've been receiving several telephone calls. I don't know if your department handles this or the state as far as handicap, accessibility, or lack of at one of my senior high-rises.
Handled under the building code, we would handle that.
Okay. Then on behalf of some of the residents at Circle F, I'd like to request an inspection be done.
Okay.
Apparently there's some questions as far as access to the outside, and in case of fire, certain concerns they have that apparently they've been bringing to the attention of also their management there. So they wanted to be sure that their rights are covered as far as handicapped individuals living in that building. That's basically it with that, so if you could request that, I appreciate it. The other thing I do have a question on is our tree trimming. We have a lot of dark spots throughout the city of Trenton. I know that at one point the department was shorthanded. We had vacancies that we were looking for qualified individuals with certain certifications that we need in order to trim trees. Have those positions been filled? And if so, we really need to get out there and brighten some of these streets up because the problem is the trees needing trimming.
We are still in the process of filling those positions. Part of the challenge has been that we've had some very, very busy periods of time where all of our staff have been called.
I know we've had some storms unexpectedly, and certain things needs to...
Based on the type of work that we do, I mean, this is our busiest season of the year. We spend probably 60% of our budget between July 1st and September. So it's the stages that have to get put up. So some of those guys who, if we have people that are out, they might get pulled. We had 2 guys that have just gone out, back surgery, from that crew. I mean, it's a challenge, but we're getting to what we can get to.
Okay, I do know that other government agencies, and not that I'm in favor of this at all, as I questioned Mr. Jackson on, again, his $300,000, which I'm having a tough time with, hiring an outside agency to address some of this. Since we obviously have the positions budgeted for, the monies are there. If the positions are not filled, we should look to outsource this to get some of these trees trimmed. Again, I'm going to piggyback too on educating individuals on all these trees we are planting, and I hope that the city in the future will prepare for the maintenance of all these trees. Obviously, that department's going to have to be increased because a lot more trees are coming in, a lot more trees are going to need trimming. If you go down Roebling Avenue right now, you could barely utilize the sidewalk. You go down Tyler Street, the kids are walking in the street because they cannot, when they're leaving school, utilize the sidewalks because the tree branches are that low. And they're new trees. So, maintenance of all these trees, especially now with them blocking the lights on the streets and the problems we're facing as far as criminal element on our streets, we really need to get that addressed, and I guess the only route then to take at this point is to hire someone from outside to come in and assist us. So my recommendation is that we do that ASAP. Most of the lights that are being blocked that I've questioned Mr. Jackson are on there already at full wattage, so it's not a question of the light, it's a question of the tree needing to be cut back. So so that the light can shine.
Is that with regards to the lights, like the trees around, the lights that you're talking about?
That's our responsibility.
Well, I'm asking, is that our responsibility, or is that PSE&G's responsibility? Because I don't know where you have to get to.
If it's affecting the power line, PSE&G, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, will go and cut the branches affecting the power lines. If it's covering the light, that's our problem. That's not their problem.
That's a citywide issue.
That's a citywide issue. So what I recommend is that we look at, since we've been short-handed, I've been hearing it for a long, long time, more than a couple of years now, and because certain qualifications are needed and individuals aren't applying for the position, then we need to look outside the box and hire outside agencies to address it if we don't have the manpower to do so. We know that you are budgeted the amount, so you do have some money to work with. And over the last few years, since positions haven't been filled, there's been quite a bit of money budgeted that hasn't been used in shade tree. So, and I know that's not there anymore, because at the end of the year it gets relocated, but for this year, the positions that you don't have, you may want to look at. The other issue, and Mr. Segura already started touching base on it, and I know the director was here, and I did try to reach out to him to discuss these matters. I know his plan's in place out there, but here we are in the early part of June, school is just out, and a lot of the activity that was occurring in the evening, late evenings, is now occurring during the day hours, the undesirable activity. You have young kids now out of school wanting to play in their backyards, play in front of their houses, and that criminal activity that was occurring in the evenings is now occurring during the day, putting these kids at jeopardy. Cops, cops, cops. We need police visible out there. I said it before, you know, I don't think we have the manpower that we should have. Here we are early June, and it's getting hot out there as far as the criminal element. So, again, I did try to reach out to the director to give him the respect, as I always try to do with the directors prior to a meeting. I didn't hear from him, so I'm bringing it to the council. Whatever we're doing may be working to an extent, but not working where it needs to work. So we need to look at that. And, Mr. President, that's basically all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Mr. Costa, I'm sorry, Ms. Payne, yes, ma'am.
Just a couple of quick items in response to Mr. Malone. In the future, if you do have trouble reaching the police director or any other director, please feel free to contact me. I assure you I can get in touch with you.
I did contact the lieutenant of the ward for several different areas. Wasn't one area in particular.
Yeah, if you can't reach the director, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to assist. The other issue, just as a reminder, we are undergoing, as the council knows, the effectiveness and the efficiency review that is underway right now in Sam's department. That's one of the issues that is being looked at, is how do we better address the whole shade tree problem. And it's not just a matter of positions not being filled, but we are trying to make the best approach to this.
And I know, in all due respect, that you have been looking out there. I've spoken with Gene, and because of the certifications, it's difficult to find individuals. So, and I respect the fact that we're reviewing every department. I think it's a great idea, but in certain circumstances like this is a public safety issue. It's also a quality of life issue. People can't utilize sidewalks. This is something we can't really wait for
If we have emergency
report.
issues, we won't wait for a report for an emergency
But a
issue.
lot of your trees, if you walk down any street, you'll see they're either blocking sidewalks and the lighting situation. And I know people call Mr. Jackson, they're calling their civic associations about lack of lighting. It's not the lack of lighting, it's now the trees that are blocking the lights. And, you know, a lot of dark spots in the city is not good. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Mr. Costa?
I want to thank Taylor for the quick work in terms of getting the Horseman Doll Factory and all the pattern machine building. I guess contacting the owners and getting it cleaned up so that there weren't weeds everywhere. acting director of housing and economic development had been here tonight, I would have asked him if he'd piggyback on those abandoned properties. He had made time to meet with his staff regarding the abandoned properties list. He's not here. I'll say that on Thursday. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Costin. Mr. Petty, anything for the record?
No, sir, nothing.
Let me just revert back. Just one point of information with regards to let's issue council a challenge. I know Mr. Keith talked about working in partnerships. However, this council was, as president of council, I was notified on behalf of council with regards to a grandmother who lives in the South Ward on Market and Broad. Specifically, her name is Laverne Sherman.
That's not the South Ward.
North Ward. I think it's maybe mistake. I was told South Ward, but regardless of the point, she has a granddaughter. Her name is Shardasia Stewart, and financially she is unable to send her child to summer camp. Camp is $335 for an 8-week period, for 8 to 5. And I would like to see if council would be interested in sponsoring this young child. I will tell you right off the bat, I will donate $100 if members of council make a difference.
Mr. President,
Pardon me?
we just so you know, the Westport Advisory Board sponsors children.
Okay.
We may have a slot available. We forwarded a check to Mr. Frisbee for the Weed and Seed program, which is an excellent summer camp program. The $200 and some odd takes care of everything.
Well, you know what? Let's not deprive any child responsible that comes under your program in the West Ward. Let council as a whole take this initiative. Is anyone interested? And I hate to put people out.
We're doing our part.
But you know, this is a case of actually. But if members of council decide a matter of $50, that's probably all it's needed. It's all it's needed. Okay. And I got you. And we would need that by Thursday at our next meeting. So, we want to contribute.
What if 10 people come next week?
Regardless, this young lady will be attending summer camp.
We sponsor kids.
This young lady will be attending summer camp in the city of Trenton. Okay, Mr.
Never fill out that.
Mr. What's your name again?
That's all.
We've been
doing it for the last.
If you have something, please provide it to the council. Yes, sir.
Some money.
Very second.